but for the love of God, I need a win with this thing right now. Another issue that it also had, according to Mr. Damien, is the headlights did not work. I found a wire under the hood. They're like aftermarket headlights. We can take a look at them real quick, but they got these aftermarket headlights in. They're like wired pretty goof. I found one wire that was kind of burnt and it had some resistance across it. I spliced that out. I did that while the battery was disconnected. The starter was out of it. I couldn't really check it. Put it on, turned on the headlights. They worked great. I went to hit the brights and then they died again, and that's when I realized it's actually, that wire was probably holding true fine. See this here turn signal switch? It's working all right-ish right now, but you hear all these clicks, click, 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 click. Shouldn't do that, right? It is not seated in the knuckle, which is why it's all loosey-goosey and floppy. So that switch is indeed our problem. If you fiddle with it, the headlights come back on. If you unfiddle with it, the headlights go off. Like I said, if you push in on it and it clicks in like that, then you know that is the status of your problem. So it's a little dirty in here. This is his food gettings truck, which I know he's dying to get back, and I got to get this thing on the road. It might be the death of me. Dang it, I got to beep that out, but whatever. But for now, let's get a W. Let's replace this switch so we have functioning headlights. Then it's going back in the shop, back in the air. The tranny's coming out for, I think, the 5th time now. I'm getting really good at that, at least. I can pull this trans in less than an hour, so that's really exciting. But yeah, let's see what we got to do here. There's going to be a screw up in this hole right here. Yep. And we got to pull this plastics apart. And once we pull the plastics apart, we'll see what we have to work with. So let me figure out what's holding that, and then we'll get started. All right, so step 1 is up in this hole right here. You have a 5.5mm screw, so we're going to remove that. Now we're going to tilt this thing down as far as we can tilt it. And I'm guessing this plastic should separate now. Let me grab a trim stick tool, and we will get this puppy separated and try and get this top cap off. All right, I apologize for it being already kind of tore apart, but this back piece right here, this is just clicks together, so you can just pop that off and grab it with your fingers, or use one of these trim stick tools, which I'll have a link for this in the description, as well as the replacement switch, and I'll put a link up here for the switch as well through Amazon. So if you're not in a hurry and you want to order that through Amazon, that really helps us out. They give us some kickbacks. But here you go, on the side, this little rubber piece just pulls right out of the side here. There's some hidden screws underneath here. You can see right there, there's a leg for it. So we got to get this lower plastic off. It's really getting caught up on this plastic right here. And I'm gonna be really mad if you gotta do something with the steering wheel.
12 seconds later.
Well, I just looked up the repair guide, and lo and behold, we gotta pull the whole steering wheel to get this piece of plastic off, which is blocking everything to get this plastic off to get to this switch. This is obnoxious. All right, so you're gonna need a really small flathead screwdriver to pop out these little caps right here. Boom, we got one on each side. There's going to be an 8mm screw right up in that hole. You can see right there. There'll be one on each side. And most importantly, we are going to pop the hood, and we are going to disconnect the battery so we don't blow the airbag in our face while we do this. So let me do that. That is an 8mm as well. I'm assuming if you're tackling something like this, you know how to disconnect your battery. So let me get that disconnected. We'll shoot this out, and then the airbag will be free to come forward, and we'll unplug it and then work on getting the steering wheel off. All right, here we go. Both 8mm are out. The battery's disconnected. So this whole airbag assembly should fall forward. You can just, on these forwards, yep, you can just press the sides. So to press, I'm kind of doing one at a time since I only got one hand, but you see the gist. Use two. So there we go. We got both those out. Now let's get this guy out, which is just we're gonna lift up right here in this little tab area, and then we can pull that out as well. Ooh, hopefully that worked. I just held this in my mouth and that was kind of grody, but there we go. There's all of our plugs there. That's out. We need to depress this depressor here because these are controls are gonna ride with the steering wheel, I believe. So now we're gonna go get it looks like about a T50 Torx. We'll shoot that out, and then we're gonna have to put a puller in here and it looks like hook into these little holes and then pull the stupid steering wheel. All right, T50 is the one. If you're gonna use an impact like me, make sure you get on there nice and square, because it is a Torx and it will strip if you screw that up. Ask me how I know. Well, there we go. T50 out. So now let me go find a puller. Still haven't done that yet. Let's get this puppy pulled back. Finally got this guy off. My steering wheel puller tool I loaned out to Mr. Brian Jones, and it hasn't returned yet, so I had to go rent one from O'Reilly's. Real quick, let me show you how you do this so you don't mess it up. So I can tell by looking in here, I don't know if that's from me zipping out the Torx bolt. I don't know if you can see that, but that thread is a little boogered up, most likely from somebody not doing this correctly before. So you just use this little part, and if you get the generic puller, make sure you put this tip in so your end point isn't going down in the threads, assuming that's where that mistake was made. And then these little hooks just hook straight up behind there like that, and they run through this deal like this. And then you just get it centered while this is, sorry, this is hard to do with one hand. It's hard to do with two hands, much less doing it with one. But yeah, you're just gonna hook it there and then run it down the center shaft, just like that. And obviously you got one on either side here, like that. And then just walk it down and she'll pop right off of there. All of that was to do this. That's what that was all for. Now we got 5.5, 5.5. That'll get this plastic cap off the top here. And then we are going to be able to get this switch out. All right, and once you take those two 5s off, it just lifts right off. I put the top piece back together since it's attached by this little band. It'll all come off as a unit, but it just lifts off and fishes over here. And here is our problem. Oh my God. So let's figure out what we got to do to get this puppy off now. That looks like a little 5.5 on the top. It's got a plug in the back side here. Look down at the bottom. I don't see anything down there, so let's start with this 5.5 up here. There we go. That's off. Let's get these plugs unplugged from it. Looks like it clicks in. Yeah, it does. Okay, cool. So you saw that? Once you take that 5.5 millimeter out at the top, it just slides in on this tab down here. That goes in there. Sorry, it's really broken. Got other stuff kind of in the way now. But yeah, it slides down, so you just squeeze this tab and lift up. There we go. Now we'll depress that plug. Let me set you over here. So now get this plug depressed. That faces inward on the column, like that. And this sucker came out in 2 pieces. So if yours is all busted like this, don't fret. It's just this plug down here. So you squeeze this tab, take that out, fish it up. Now that's garbage. Garbage, I tell you. Now we're gonna put a new unit in, and that has that line right there on it. So we are good to go there. So let's get this, actually, we don't need to do that. We can push the wires back for now. Let's get this seated in and drop down in position. There we go. So, all right, now we're gonna get these plugs clicked back in. This wire doesn't want to bend the way I want it to, so we're gonna push it down through this hole right here. Just like that. Just kind of stiff with the new wires, and then we'll go up over the top like it was. Is that a business card in here? It's a picture, and it's not Damien. It's weird. Why are there cut wires? God, what have people been doing in here? That one's thick, like it should be live. Okay, we're gonna have to put some heat shrink on the tip of that just to be safe. Golly, there we go. Now we're gonna put our little 5.5 mil back in the top here. which I don't even remember where I set that. Here it is. It's real tiny in plastic, so you just snug it up just like that. And cool. Now we can put our plastic back on and put our steering wheel back on. When you put the steering wheel back on, as long as your threads aren't gummed like mine, I'm gonna have to go get a tap and run a tap down that just to make sure it's nice and clean. You just literally put it on, push it on, and then use the bolt to suck it down. Make sure you put Loctite on the center bolt before you re-shoot it, and then button up your plastics and you're good to go. But in the meantime, I'm going to heat shrink those wires I just found that are exposed, just in case they are live, and then I'm going to tap my center bolt and then put it all back together. So yeah, if this video helped you out, hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more.